Live here on a Friday or a Thursday here in February. I'm coming to you live from out of town, out of my home office for the first time on a Facebook Live. I'm in the middle of Michigan in Frankenmuth, a little German kind of town. A lot of fun. I'm speaking at a Michigan State Conference tomorrow for a full day. And so I'm excited to be here in Michigan, as well as to spend this time with you tonight and talk about a very important topic on active learning strategies to develop clinical judgment and really kind of talk about a couple of educational best practices and principles, the use of escape rooms, as well as the use of unfolding case studies. But then we have something really new we're going to share tonight. We have kind of collaborated with Martha Johnson of Breakout RN to put together a clinical reasoning escape room. And we're excited to share that resource with you a little later on in this Facebook Live. So stay tuned and look forward to your comments and feedback. And I just love to know where you're coming from today across the country and even other parts of the world. So if you could just put your first name in the chat, where you're from, I just want to kind of see who's out there today. And just want to thank you all for taking time out of your schedule as busy nurse educators to, again, strengthen how you teach. And I can guarantee you will not want to miss this Facebook Live. I'm really excited. So anyways, if you're checking this out for the first time, live stream is all about supporting your needs as nurse educators. You know, if you look at KeithRN, it's my passion to put the needs of faculty first, to give faculty the best possible tools and resources to better prepare students for practice. And so I'm the Keith of KeithRN, and I have a website, KeithRN.com, and we'll talk about some of the resources that I do with case studies. But that's kind of, what we have tonight. And I just want you to know that if you, that these recordings live forever on the internet. I have a YouTube channel called Think Like a Nurse, and these are being streamed live as we speak to both my Facebook channel, Think Like a Nurse, as well as my Facebook channel or YouTube channel, Think Like a Nurse. And there's the link. So if you found this information helpful, I just ask one thing of all of you as educators: pay it forward. Share this link once it's completed in the next hour, and with other faculty, other colleagues, because really, I'm just one person. Martha's one person. We need your help. And, one thing that I talked about last month, I'm doing this once a month now, is that I talked about unfolding case studies and a new type of unfolding case studies called Next Gen Reasoning. And I just want you to know that if you missed that live stream, it's on my YouTube channel. But also, I just want you to know that if you would like to learn more about some of the resources that I've developed in this new level of unfolding case study for Next Gen, please check it out. It's my shortest level yet, uses open-ended questions, and we talked about that last week. And so anyways, I just want to, before I move on and introduce Martha, I want to just honor and basically just see who's out here tonight in the Facebook chat. So let me just kind of see who's out there tonight, and let me see who is there. And you know what? My chat unfortunately just reloaded, and you know what? All those people who are there are gone. So you know what? I am so sorry, but the bottom line is, if you want to put your name there one more time, and if not, you know what? That's okay. We're going to move on here. And I got Teddy from Tulsa. All right, we'll start with Teddy. And got Jackie from Pittsburgh, Sandra Taylor from wet Northeast Florida, Felicia. I don't know where you're coming from, Felicia, but thanks for joining us tonight. Beth from New Orleans. So, boy, we've got that half of the country covered. Got Julie. Julie, we just had dinner tonight from Michigan. Great to have you here. And Sarah from Kansas, Marcia from North Carolina, Heather in South, Sherry Carnes from Sarasota. Thank you for joining me tonight. Samantha from Texas, Heather in Fort Worth. Wow. Love all you guys coming here. I can't acknowledge everyone. Just want to say thank you. And great to have you all with us today. So thank you for putting that in the chat. And I want to just get started with Martha, because, as I have been on my journey with KeithRN for 11 years, I have come to the place, kind of recognize this a little too late, or almost too late. We need each other. We got to collaborate with other faculty, which we do in our department. But when you're a nurse entrepreneur, when you're kind of in your own silo doing your own thing, and you're passionate about what you do, you realize that you've got to have other people that you can link arms with. And I am so blessed to have found Martha in my journey, because she is a lot like me. She's a friend, she's a colleague, and she's a fellow innovator, and also wants to challenge the status quo with innovative active learning strategies. And she began her journey with Breakout RN, with escape rooms, and was an escape room innovator, and really did escape rooms very differently, as I have done case studies very differently with all that I do. And so I basically just kind of am excited to have a chance to just basically to work with Martha, to have this opportunity. And I'm just going to bring her in because we're going to talk a little bit about escape rooms as well as some of the case studies, but we're going to say, how do you put these two together and create something that's never been done before? That's the topic of tonight's conversation. So Martha, I'm going to bring you in, and it is just a pleasure to have you here with me tonight. You're well known in your circuit. You are well known, and
I don't know about that.
Anybody who does, anybody who puts the needs of faculty first and gives them good tools, kind of like if you're a carpenter, you want the best tools or you don't build a good house. And it's the same with educators. If we don't give them the best tools, they don't transform the way they teach nursing. And so, Martha, there are people out there who don't know who you are and are just kind of saying, some do, but, just briefly introduce yourself and just share us, your journey, why you started to be also a solo entrepreneur in the nurse educator space, which is desperately needed to really strengthen the tools that we provide educators, because the vendors, sometimes those tools are not as strong as they could be. So love to share your journey. And then we're going to talk about what we have done together.
Yeah, thank you for the very warm welcome. That was so kind of you. But my journey got started. I first got interested in kind of active learning when I was a new educator, and I had a 3-hour lecture course. It was PowerPoint heavy. I was reading from the slides, and it just didn't feel aligned with how I felt students learned. They weren't engaged. It wasn't, I didn't feel like they were learning. They were just copied notes, and it wasn't similar to practice at all. So it didn't align with my values as an educator, and I just started experimenting. I started doing different active learning techniques, and I noticed this change in my classroom. There was more excitement. There was more conversation. So one of the tools that I started using was an escape room. I developed it on my own. It was kind of a mix between Google Forms and our Sim Lab. And it took me a very long time to sort it out on my own. And then I noticed in your Facebook group that other educators were looking for this. They were looking for options for escape rooms. And that's kind of how we met, because I started sharing it. I started sharing what I was doing. I started sharing what I learned about building these virtual locks, how to build a storyline into it, how to build it from the nursing process and include clinical judgment. And I was sharing in the Facebook group, and that's when you reached out to me, and that's how we connected. But from there, Breakout RN kind of grew very organically from that. It kind of sprouted out of the pandemic. Some people were making sourdough bread, and I had these wild creative ideas to create a card deck that was an unfolding case study. And I started building those and creating them, and that's where Breakout RN came from. And now its goals are kind of changing. I really want to support other educators in the journey to active learning. I want to show them that it does not have to be this total overhaul overnight. You can implement it slowly, 1-2 activities a semester, and they can be practical, useful, easy to implement, and you don't have to do this complete remodel of your whole course to implement active learning. It can be simple.
And what you've done, Martha, and I just put your website in the chat, is that you're a lot like me. You have a lot of strategies that you share on your website. It's not just about like, oh, I have this resource. It's like you have developed a lot of just strategies that are
Mm-hmm.
accessible for free on your website. So if you haven't, and maybe, so I just, which I love about you, because that really shows the heart that's all about serving. It's all about strengthening how we teach nursing to transform it to strengthen, again, ultimately, the practice readiness of our graduate nurses. To
Mm-hmm.
provide safe patient care. So you're very generous, as I have been. I've been blogging for 10 years, and I
Yeah.
love featuring your blogs as a guest blog, because you have some incredible strategies. And so we're not going to go into those tonight in detail, but those of you that basically that are here live and will watch this recording, it's in the chat. Please check out Martha's work if you haven't already, because you'll be blessed and encouraged. And just anything if you'd like to add to that, Martha.
Yeah, there's a lot of templates in there, worksheets that are already developed, but that you can use for your own content. And I think that makes them very practical. They're easy to use, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just get started.
Yeah. And Sandra says she's excited to get her decks that are coming next week and learn
Yeah.
about the new ones. Now, we're not going to talk about escape room decks this time, but
No.
that's a whole other conversation that'll take
Yeah.
another Facebook Live to discuss. But let it be said, they're like, in a sense, a case study in a card deck. Is that a fair
Exactly.
summary, Martha?
Yes, it's an
All right.
unfolding case study presented as a card deck. So there's some elements of puzzles in there, some online elements, and it's really a fun activity for students. So I'm excited about the new ones.
Well, let's talk about escape rooms briefly, Martha. And really what I want to highlight here is, escape rooms have been around for a few years. And I think that, at the pandemic, they were like a really hot topic. And,
Mm-hmm.
because we were in COVID lockdown and we're looking for something different than a KeithRN unfolding case study. Those, we just got to mix it up, right? We got to use other strategies, whatever they might be. And you really, in that escape room deck, but you also have done some you've done your homework, and there's a body of research on
Yes.
escape rooms. It's not just like, oh, this is a nice little thing to do. It's like, no, we have research to support. And I would just like you to highlight, Martha, just concisely kind of the, what's the summary findings of like the benefits or best practices of escape rooms, because it's like case studies. Not all case studies are created equal. You
Mm-hmm.
can have a multiple choice question format isn't the same as open-ended, and it doesn't teach the same way. It's the same with escape rooms. So, highlight those features of escape rooms, Martha, done well. And what's the literature on escape rooms as a active learning strategy?
Yeah, so when I built my first escape room, that was kind of a blend of virtual and in person, there was not a lot of research, and I was kind of going off my gut and the subjective data that I was gathering from students. But what I will say is it was the most lively debriefing sessions that I've had. Students would come back from it, and they were eager to discuss the patient scenario. They were excited to share how they got to the answer, which is giving their rationale. There was just a palpable change in the energy in that class that I deployed the escape room. So this was pre-pandemic, and a lot of the research that has come out is fairly new, like 2020
And
to
that's a good
now.
thing. We want
Yeah.
current.
Yeah. And it's an educational escape room, which is a little bit different than like the regular escape room that you may see in your community. It's designed for learning objectives rather than entertainment. And the support in the literature shows that it is an effective teaching tool for a lot of different things. One being communication. It's typically done in teams, so students have to demonstrate teamwork. Engagement is a big one, and motivation around learning. Interdisciplinary collaboration. There's been quite a few escape rooms that people have done between departments. So nursing will bring in pharmacy, or they bring in advanced practice nurses, or they bring in their EMS students to the escape room, and they collaborate and work on knowing what the other disciplines do. And then also those soft skills, again, communication, teamwork, problem solving, and there's even a little bit of research that supports it improves their exam scores as well.
Yeah. And Martha, you said something that I think that our audience may have missed, but it's one word that's a really big deal. And I just want you to just briefly drill deep on that. It's an educational escape room format versus the typical or more of a gamification escape room that I think was maybe how it all began, with the focusing on all the locks and keys and just making that kind of the focus and making learning fun. What are the distinctives between the two? Because I think just like case studies, we're sometimes using some great case studies and we're using some that are just not as effective. And when it comes to escape rooms, let's get some clarity so we can strengthen that pedagogy in our classrooms, wherever we're using escape rooms. Kind of highlight those distinctives, Martha, so we can kind of understand and we can reflect as educators, is my escape room, if I'm using one or created one, which one is it? So
Yeah.
could you just briefly explain the difference? Because I think what we have developed together is an educational escape room by far that I think is very different than anything in the marketplace relating that, but it definitely comes under that category. And I just think I just like you to just clarify that for the audience and even for me, just so I get that a little bit more.
Sure. So an entertainment escape room that you may have experienced in your community does have the locks and the keys and the game. But an educational escape room, especially in nursing education, is going to be grounded in practice and professional nursing practice. So the scenario is not going to be, on a pirate ship or in outer space. It's going to be where a nurse would see a patient. So that's the setting is one clear aspect. The other thing is that there are clear learning objectives to an educational escape room. It's not just to escape in a certain amount of time, but there's underlying objectives that the students are working towards. And these can be, providing knowledge or reinforcing previously learned material. It can be around nursing skills, whether they're like physical skills, like inserting an IV, or developing those critical thinking skills, or to train, reinforce, build on certain professional behaviors that we want nursing students to have, such as teamwork, collaboration, communication, all of those pieces. And it's not the entertainment value that is the main goal. It is the learning objectives that are woven throughout.
Excellent. That's really kind of the goal that we really always want to bring, that practice element and putting practice first, and really make sure that the escape room reflects practice as well as and that emphasis of, again, clinical judgment and developing those reasoning skills, the thinking skills, that with everything else, the communication and everything else, but putting it all together in kind of a scenario that's really going to bring practice, into our program. Is there anything else you'd like to share, Martha, on just escape rooms in general that would just kind of help our audience just kind of, fully understand, so that when we show them the collaboration that we've done together and putting a KeithRN unfolding case study with the escape room format, I think is really, is going to be really good to see. But just to help them understand it and to put is there anything else that you need to share? I just want to make sure that we didn't miss.
No, I think we covered most of it. Just the emphasis on practice, and that an escape room is it's really a tool. It's not. It's not wildly complicated. It's an unfolding case study, but it's just presented in a unique and engaging way that is a tool that educators can use.
Yes, and I think that that's really important to make that distinction, Martha, that there's nothing special, for example, in a clinical reasoning escape room, unless it accomplishes the objective that needs to be done, which is developing, improving clinical reasoning skills, improving practice readiness, improving communication skills. That, if it doesn't do those things, I don't care what you call it, it's all about the outcomes and the benefits that it does for student learning. And yes, the tool is just a tool. It's kind of like you need a good tool, though. Just like
Yeah.
a carpenter needs a good tool to
Yes.
basically, build a good house, and, and not, so it's like tools matter, but yet it's not about the tool. It's about the effectiveness of the tool
Hmm.
to make those outcomes, whatever the student learning outcomes are, and defining those, in our student learning. And so that's a great point, and thank you for sharing that. And one of the things that I'll just add to the conversation, Martha, is that, I was blessed to complete my PhD studies in 2020, but my dissertation and my passion is unfolding case studies to develop clinical judgment. And so when you look at a case study, and again, it's not an escape room. People, I think I'm well known for my case studies, but in essence, really what I have tried to do with my case studies is operationalize the best practices in the nursing literature that I too identified, Martha. And so, when you look at the value of case-based learning, the literature is very clear, and I've shared this on numerous presentations. I'm not going to go deep in the weeds with it, but that case-based learning is the most effective pedagogy to teach a practice-based profession, because it contextualizes content to content, content to the context of practice. When you look at Dr. Benner's work that I've talked about for many years, how do we transform nursing education? We have to bring context to our content, bring class and clinical together, and then emphasize the clinical reasoning skills. That brings about transformation. What does that better than any other resource? A well-written case study, or in this case, I believe, an educational escape room that reinforces and has the components of an unfolding case study that just does it differently. It's kind of like skinning the cat, just doing it differently. And that's really, I think, what we have done and did our best, to accomplish with this, with this joint venture, as well as just making visible, Martha. I think that is also really important. If we were to just have an agreement that developing clinical judgment and those reasoning skills are the most important skill that we're going to lay the foundation of safe practice on. We've got to integrate the nursing process, Tanner's framework of clinical judgment, in an escape room format or a case-based format, which is what I've done in the past. And when we do that, we can practice the reasoning skills over and over again. So a well-written escape room, a well-written case study, or well-written cases or resources that you use as educators will all accomplish that objective. But we need to practice the most important skill our students must develop, which is clinical judgment. And I'm just excited to have a new resource that Martha, how long have we been working on this together? Can we just say that this was not like a 2-week project?
No.
How long have we been putting ourselves, working together? Has it been, I think, over like a year?
It has been over a year, yes.
It has been.
It has been that we've been fine-tuning and laying the foundation and putting it all together. It has been over a year, yes.
Well, and the thing is that, it got better over time, though, didn't it? Was it worth it, though? I mean,
Yes.
This was something that, it was like, we just got better. I mean, we kind of just refined, we strengthened, we brought, the strengths that we both bring, you with escape room, myself with the case-based scenario, and using a combination. What I'm excited about this case study, Martha, that my case studies don't even do, is that you have done some incredible work to bring complex multiple choice items that are the same structure of NCLEX, the next gen, with 2-column matrix, highlight text, drop down close. You have brought those complex items that many of us as educators still don't even have in our software to write test questions. You figured it out, Martha. You're an innovator, and we used a different platform than Google Forms, so we used something very different. But it gave us additional flexibility for you to create those complex multiple choice items, as well as open-ended items that I am known for with my case studies. So it combines both in a nice balance of both open-ended responses that really are practice informed, but also some complex multiple choice items to do the puzzles. There's a couple puzzles in there, but it doesn't depend on the puzzles. And
No.
so I just want to say thank you for the incredible work you have done
Oh,
to really bring these NGN style items into the escape room, which I don't think has been done either. I mean, because I don't see the vendors making escape rooms. I don't see the big publishers. I don't think it's up to us as educators that we don't have a lot of time. But Martha, we have put our time, countless, I don't know, hundreds of hours to
yes.
get this right. Kind of like Frankenstein's monster, but in a
Yes.
good way. In a good way.
Yes.
We kind of put this together. And so,
The
you know what?
best
Let's
kind of
stop talking,
monster.
Martha. Can we just show it, people the escape room and show them
Yeah,
an
let's
example of what we've
yeah,
developed?
I think
And it
that,
has the same, and I just want you all to know that just like my case studies that I have, like if you have a skinny reasoning or an unfolding reasoning, it's the same structure. The same thing I want you to know is that the structure of the escape room you're about to see, we currently have 3 topics, and we'll talk about that at the end, that are now available for purchase. You even have a discount coupon I want to share with you at the end, so stay with us. But the bottom line is that it has the same structure. So what you see on this structure of a clinical reasoning escape room that you can use unlimited with your students throughout the course, of a 1-year license. Bottom line is that the structure is the same. So whether it's this topic or that topic, the essential format will to reinforce the clinical reasoning, just like my cases are the same. So I just wanted to highlight that, and I also want you to educators who are watching this live, you are blessed to get your questions answered. So we're going to take about 10 to 15 minutes to demo this, and we're going to just walk through it from top to finish. Takes about 45 minutes to an hour for a student to do this. And it's an online escape room, which means that they access it online, the student. You share a link to your students, you share a unique user code, and then they take it from there. So all you have to do is post a link on your platform for your students to access this resource. And so Martha, let's go ahead and take a look. And I'm just going to open up
pull it up.
our and can you see that? And I think that we have that in front of us. And so let me just, I'm just going to basically just go to that, Martha. And basically, this is when the students open the case study link, they're going to put in their name, the student's name, last name, and whatever email address the instructor gives them the instructions, how long it will take. And the important kind of some distinctions to be aware of is that this is a guided learning activity that the students will get the answers to after they complete each step. And if they go backwards, they are kicked out of the form. So they got to keep moving forward. So Martha, that's another incredible work that you did to really just embed that dynamic. And so let's get started. We're going to do a COPD pneumonia case study. It's going to be based on a KeithRN unfolding case study. It's shorter. It's got 7 steps, but it encompasses the unfolding aspect. And so this starts with Joan Walker, who you are assigned to care for, who has a complaint of difficulty breathing. So we introduce the patient. We have an image. And then we make visible, Martha, what I really like, what you did with this is that we really wanted to make very visible the clinical reasoning processes to students so that they could see each step of the way that, okay, you start with noticing, and we define it very simply, that it's collecting and recognizing what's most important of clinical data, and then summarize it here. And so we introduce the reasoning process, the clinical reasoning process of noticing, define it for students so they will get the learning and reinforce that. And then you have the opening scenario as it relates to Joan Walker. And so here's our scenario. She and I'm going to kind of be like the student in this context. And Martha, would you like me? I'll just kind of just highlight it, and I want you to interject and just kind of highlight some things, because I know the case study piece, the escape room piece, but you start with the opening scenario, just like all of my case studies. And you have an 84-year-old female, difficulty breathing, productive cough, green phlegm, etc., who has a fever, chills, becoming more labored with her breathing. And then we have a question. What important information do you notice as a nurse in this triage knows? Write it out in the space below. And so what they're going to do is open-ended thinking. There's no multiple guessing. They're going to have to type in 84-year-old, that her age is a concern. What else do you notice? And then, green phlegm, and write that in, and then add more. What else do you notice? And what we're doing with this, Martha, this really, tell me about this. This is like a highlight text.
This is like a highlight text question. Yes, that would be on Next Gen. And the students, like they saw in the first screen, they know that they need to notice. That's the first step.
Yep, we're explaining, we're making it visible.
Pull out that information. What's that?
Yes, we're making it visible to them. So yes, they know we're kind of just making it, it's like a teaching tool with the application. It's kind of like an all-in-one kind of teaching tool, Martha, when you think of it, isn't it?
Yes. So another piece too that's important in these educational escape rooms is the use of story and incorporating a storyline. And now it's not like a prison break storyline, but it's a real patient scenario with an image, with a medical record. So that is also incorporated in these clinical reasoning escape rooms.
Yeah. And so the students just keep going, filling out for the first part of noticing. Again, just like highlight text, what are you going to highlight? What are you going to write in the box? Keep going until you're done. And again, you did a wonderful job, Martha. I mean, this was some work, wasn't it? I mean, you didn't just, this was some very creative thinking, I think, if I recall.
Yeah, we worked on it together. It was a team effort.
Yep. And so once the student does this first part of noticing, they now submit it. Now they're going to see what they should have highlighted. Correct, Martha? All of these red lines are what should have been highlighted in that scenario. Again, the story, what are we noticing? That's what we wanted you to notice. So then they can reflect and see what they missed. So it's kind of like a self-learning, self-directed learning activity.
Yes.
Which means that you don't have to, which makes it even more like my unfolding case studies don't even lend itself to this level of self-teaching. So I think it really leverages, Martha, and even improves upon even a traditional case that I've written for the last several years. So well done.
Yes, because if they miss something, if they're missing a key piece of information, it can reinforce that for them and let them carry on the case study, knowing that that's important as they go to the next step. So
exactly. So it's not going to make them stop and then have to figure out for like the next 3 hours what little word did I miss that I can't go forward. No. We want to keep the students moving forward, learn from it, and then just go on. And so again, it's just the next button. And so what you'll notice here is that what Martha's done with this aspect is we take each element of what they should have noticed: 84 years old, productive cough, green phlegm. You know what the next, all of those elements that were on the last page, now the students have to do some thinking with an open-ended response to interpret the meaning of clinical data. So now it's like, why is it a big deal that she's 84 years old? Does that increase their likelihood of having an adverse outcome? Well, then again, write it in the box. The same thing with each of these elements. So what's nice about, what I love about this, the case study, Martha, the escape room activity, is that it combines a combination of, of prescriptive as well as open-ended responses. This is an example of the rationale, again, to get to the why. And then once they've done that, this form, Martha, just so the audience is clear, this gets submitted. When they complete it, the educator at that email address will get this escape room form with everything that they have just filled out in every one of these boxes and every part, and they'll see the entirety of the case study of the student filled out the escape room with all of these elements, correct?
Correct. They immediately when the student clicks submit at the end of this activity, a complete report goes. So every answer that they input into this online module will be sent to the instructor, and it includes the charts that we'll get to, PDF documents, images. It includes everything, the student's name, and it gives a nice overview of the work that was put in to the assignment.
Yep. And so once this has been done, they click next, keep working through it. And now you've given them the answers. Here's the relevant clinical data. Here's the significance so that they can review that, learn from it, and then they're going to move forward and then basically kind of go to what's next. And so we know that she has COPD. She is in distress. She'll likely be admitted as you work through the puzzles. What we're doing with this puzzle is we're going to call the doctor. We're going to text or call the provider and give report. And so in essence, here is the 7 digits that we are looking to collect as we now work through the rest of the case study. And they need to write this down. So they're going to text this complete phone number after they're done, and they're going to get a response, and we'll share that at the very end to confirm that they did it correctly. So now we're just going to keep going.
And that's a part of the educational escape room piece. That's the part of the storyline that fits in with this patient and adds just another level of engagement for the students to collect those numbers for the phone number.
Excellent. No, I love that, Martha. That's a really just making it practice, making it real and not gamey, like just have a game, but to really align it with practice. So now we have noticing. And this element of kind of another layer of noticing is recognizing what is most and least important. You know, the first aspect was what's concerning. Now it's kind of like looking at what is not or what is concerning or not, defining that for students, and then basically now looking at vital signs. So now it unfolds just like practice, just like my case studies. We have a set of vital signs, 103.2, all the data there. We can also see the head to toe assessment concisely stated. You know, she has got dyspnea, use of accessory muscles, breath sounds diminished with scattered wheezing, etc. And now we have our first kind of puzzle lock, and it's really very creative. What they're going to do is basically it's a 2-column matrix, just like Next Gen, but they have a red flag. That's a red flag data or concerning, or not concerning is a green check. And the students for this one are going to look at the vital signs and assessment under this lens, like a 2-column matrix on Next Gen. That temperature of 103, red flag or not a concern. Well, that's clearly a red flag. Heart rate, that's a red flag. Pale, hot, dry skin. You know, that really is expected with 103 temp. I'm going to say no. Voiding clear yellow urine, I don't think that's a problem. That shouldn't be. Respiratory rate 30, yes, a red flag. Blood pressure is too high, alert and oriented, that's normal. Dyspnea is a red flag with accessory muscles, and oxygen sat of 86% is a red flag. And now what you've done, Martha, you've highlighted for each row here, basically a letter. And if they got the red flags correct, there is a code word that will be visible. And let's see if I got it. PURPLE. That sounds like the color purple. I would select.
You got it. You got it.
I got your escape room. And now I can keep
You unlocked it.
I unlocked it. Boy, that was hard. But that's the column matrix, just like practice, but also, again, in the context of a story. And then we have the rationale listed, and we've got our first number. Now we're going to keep going. And we're going to have to kind of, and now we've got the trending of clinical data with the lab analysis. We explain what trending is, and then we basically have an actual couple lab panels. And we're going to check kind of a couple contexts of saying, is this value of the lab low within normal limits or high? And then we're going to ask ourselves, has this improved, stable, or worsened compared to a month ago? So we have 2 sets of data here. And then we're basically then going to look at that piece. And so let me just, my internet's connection's a little bit slow here on the road. So I hope that this loads here in just a matter of a few seconds, Martha. But, tell me, how difficult, Martha, while waiting, how difficult was it to really kind of operationalize, like even that 2-column matrix in that last item? Do you have any, how much work was that when you look back?
No. We went back to the beginning. That's okay. You can breeze through it.
For some reason, the internet's, I think the streaming might just be sucking some bandwidth, and we're just slowing down here. But let me just I'll just the thing that's nice, Martha, is that we can just easily kind of just go through this. And we'll get right back to where we were. There we are. And we'll keep going here and be blessed. Bottom line is this. We'll see if it loads here. It's going to try one more time. It's a PDF document that just needs
So
to load.
this one is an editable PDF. So the students are able to click right into it and type right into it. And then they save their changes, their work, and upload it underneath there. And then that goes to the instructor in that final report.
Yeah, and so they can write into it. They upload it here, and the instructor sees it. I'm going to go ahead and just keep going, Martha. But here's what it looks like with the next lab panel. Here's the ABGs. And so, for example, that pH a year ago was 7.38. Is that low with the normal limits or high? And today it's 7.25. Well, if they know their ranges and if they have their book, that's a normal. Today, doesn't look good. That is acidotic. And then they have to write in the rationale of what's the significance. And that is also submitted. So they do that for each aspect of an ABG. They then download it using the download button here, put it on their laptop, label it, and then put it back in. And then they have to decide, and I love what you did here, Martha, what acid-base imbalance? Is it respiratory acidosis or alkalosis? Is it metabolic acidosis, alkaline? And then is there compensation? But you use multiple choice, so you kept it really kind of, just again, using some complex multiple choice items like NGN, but again, replicating practice. And so again, well done. Here's what those images look like. And again, she's got these already with the rationale so the students can see the rationale of the significance of each lab value. They've now got the second number. Write down number 6. We've gotten this far in the case. Let's keep going. Now it's a select all that apply. Which lab values are most concerning to the nurse? And again, they just have to look at what those values were and what they recall. And then again, selecting all that apply. And then basically highlights which one of those labs are most concerning. The lactate was too high, etc., with the rationale and what that looks like. Oh, for goodness sakes. Well, I'm not sure what is going on with our form, Martha. It's just not enjoying this. There we go.
There it goes.
We'll just get out of it. Okay, next step is pathophys. And so now it's like, this is kind of like how my cases, Martha, have the open-ended, describe in your own words the patho of COPD. They synthesize in their own words, do the same thing with pneumonia. And then this is going to be submitted. The faculty are going to see this. And so they've got to do their best work. And again, it's a grade independent activity. And there again, there's your pathophysiology of patho and of pneumonia and COPD. And boom, we go on. Okay. Well, can't go back, Martha, but the third number was basically a drop-down close, where you basically have a simple question of she's at high risk for respiratory failure. You administer this, and then you had 5 selections, and these are the correct selections with the rationale. So again, everything is there for the students. Now
we're also following that clinical judgment model too of preventing complications and weaving that piece into the storyline as well.
Yes, and what we've done here, is basically develop what the next gen calls a multiple response matrix, where there's more than one response for like respiratory failure. Like, what's an early sign? An early sign of respiratory failure. Is it this? Which one is it? And I would say, well, their respiratory effort's going to be high. You want to watch their blood pressure. I don't know about their temperature. No, and I don't think that. Well, maybe I'm going to leave that. Septic shock, early finding will be this one. We want to watch that, the red temperature, their trend, their blood pressure, and their respiratory effort. So the students select it, go to next, and then again, you can see the correct answers, and then it explains the complications and just basically why you want to do those things. Again, students can reflect and see what they did or didn't do correctly. Get the 4th number. We got 3 more to go. Now it's time to respond with the plan of care. And again, defines responding using Tanner's framework, which also aligns with next gen. So remember that Tanner's framework aligns with the next gen framework. That's where it derived from. The chicken is Tanner's, the egg is next gen. It came first, Tanner's. So therefore, there we have it. And again, medical management. So each of these orders just are going to basically have a drop down like, okay, methylprednisolone, what is the expected outcome of methylpred? Decreased output, anxiety decreased, or improved oxygenation. And again, when we look in the context of respiratory failure, it's going to improve oxygenation by anti-inflammatory, and then they explain why. And they do that. So it's a combination of multiple. This is a drop-down close. It's beautifully done, Martha, just like NextGen.
Mm-hmm.
And then they select it. But then what we do with the escape room is bring it to the next level. The NextGen will not ask for rationale,
No.
but we need to as formative learning in our programs, and we have that there. They would then save this file, upload it, go to the next, and then we keep going. All right, let's see if we can. I'm not sure why it's that. We didn't do this in our demo in our time alone.
No, it did not. It's not.
It's kind of crazy.
It has not done that ever.
All right. Well, maybe for some reason, maybe okay. We're getting closer. We're almost at the end here. And again, another responding question is now dosage calc. So now we've got 2 orders: levofloxacin IV piggyback over 90 minutes, and we have to do a dosage calc to basically look at how many milliliters it is, 150 over 90 minutes. They calculate it, submit it, go to the next one.
This one has some branching scenarios. The MedCalc does because it's an exact answer. Students should be able to get to the exact answer. So if they do answer incorrectly, they are provided with the setting up the ratio, and from there they should be able to calculate the answers. This one's 100.
Yep. And so they put 100 in, they get the next button that popped up.
This one is one that will not let you pass until you actually do the math, but it gives you the ratio. So all you have to do is just
provide them with the answer, Martha, but you don't give them the answer.
Yes.
I love that.
Guide them. It's a gentle guidance.
It is. But dosage calc, Martha, I agree. It's 100%. There shouldn't be a margin of error, or we may harm.
No.
So I love the fact that we made that a high stakes. That you had
that one you cannot pass without.
Love that. And now we have an Ativan, lorazepam 1 milligram IV push. And again, we have to give that. And if we're going to give if we're going to give 1 milligram, and there's your vial that says 2 milligrams and 1 ml, that's going to be, I think, 0.5 if mLs.
Yeah, you got that,
Martha. And there's if they didn't get it right, there you have everything explained. We've got the 5th lock, or the 5th. And again, we really didn't get a lock per se. We're just progressing, but we're engaging them with the story and how it unfolds step by step in this online activity. So now we're getting to the end. It's now evaluative reflecting. We define that. And then 30 minutes later, you gave her neb treatment. And I love what you did here, Martha, to make this really interactive. We have a nice image of the patient's vital signs. And you say use green ink circle to circle on the screen with your mouse if the condition, what's showing that the condition is improving. So we just change this to green. And now I can say, boy, that heart rate is lower. Circle that. That blood pressure is lower. Circle it. SAT is better. The rate is down. And the oxygen's only at 4 liters. That's better. And this is going to be automatically submitted to the faculty. Click next. Yep. And then it shows them exactly, yes, I got that one right. Yay. I'm not going to, and just keep going. Okay, well, we'll just kind of see if we can see if this is going to behave or not, Martha. But, we basically just, we're getting to the end here. And maybe we'll close. 2 minutes or so. I'm not going to play with this, Martha, for much longer, but I'm kind of like,
okay.
But, the bottom line is that, okay, there we go. We're almost there. And we do the same thing. You also have a nice image that you have some safety issues. So this is a great fundamentals question. Change that to red ink. And then basically looking at this image really carefully, what are safety concerns? And you had someone do an illustration for you. But again, the patient doesn't have slippers. That oxygen's around her foot. Her brakes look like they could be off. She also, if I look at my clamps real closely, again, that roller clamp is down. My levo's not going in.
No.
And that's a problem. And so I might be missing something, but
her call light's over in the corner. Yeah.
Oh my, and then again, go to next. And again, you call it out, Martha, and you explain it there. Nice work. And now evaluative reflecting. Now it's time to basically kind of look at the if the check mark, whether the interventions were effective. And so now you got a 2-column matrix, and we're looking at say, okay, we've done the plan of care. Her heart rate is now 88. It was 110. That's effective. It's gotten better. Do that with all questions. Upload this, save it, upload, and then go to the next. And it gives them, again, all the answers. The patient status is clearly improving. We've got the 6th number of 8 that is written down. Now, the overall status, well, it's very clear the patient is improving, but is there anything you need to do differently in the plan of care? Some cases you will, in this case, you really don't. So just continue plan of care, submit that, go to the final question. Now we basically have got one more order. And what we need to do now is an educational handout. It's patient teaching. So now we've got some components on a patient education form that they need to address. And we'll see if it'll load up, Martha. If it doesn't, it's not a problem. It's just open into responses to patient ed. I'll just keep going just to keep us moving. Here it is right here. So that's what they would fill out when you feel short of breath. How to use a spacer. This is like students are explaining the why. Yes, you're going to teach the patient what a handout says, but do you know why you would do these interventions? This is what that activity. I love what you did with that, Martha. 7th number is 6. We now have all 7 numbers. And now we got to do one more thing in practice. Again, it's a practice-informed escape room. We got to do an S-bar. And so in this one here, you're going to have an S-bar form. And again, here's the answers. And but they would submit this form of an SBAR, giving report to the nurse. Mm-hmm. And then we basically now are going to call report. And so now you're going to they're going to text this number, Martha, 833, the 7 digits they got. And can you just explain this? Because this is kind of cool, but I didn't, I'd like them to hear it.
Yeah, so they have collected the numbers now, and as a completion reward, I guess, just encouraging them to finish the last step is that they can actually text this number. When they text ready for report, they will receive a reply. And that's always kind of exciting to just see that conclusion of all your hard work as a nurse.
And so they will get a physical response.
Yes, on their phone. They can just text on their phone and they will get an actual response. Yes.
And what is that response, if I could ask?
You're asking if they're ready to report, and they say, yes, you can send up the patient. And then that kind of concludes the care in the ER, essentially, once you transfer the patient out. Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like brings a realism, even though it's clearly not, but it simulates that. And then they get the reply.
Yes.
And now the very final thing, and I love what we did here because it's like my case studies do the same thing. It's like you've got to reflect on your thinking as a nurse. And so asking 2 questions, and this is really helpful for faculty to get inside your students' thinking. What content do you need to understand to make better judgments? It's like, and the students reflect, I didn't know this very well, and they fill that out. Or what did I learn to improve patient care in my own practice? And again, they reflect on their thinking, give a detailed response. And when they click the red button, Martha, does that mean the eagle has landed? And now this entirety will be submitted, correct?
Yep. It goes right to the instructor's email, and they can then be evaluated on their work so far.
Awesome.
And in that testing, when I tested these two with some of my colleagues, that reflection piece was very insightful for students. Some of them struggled with basic patho or med calc, and they wrote, this is how I'm going to study. This is how I'm going to improve that. It helped to pick up on some of their weaknesses. So
yeah. And, Martha, we've got some great questions in the chat we need to answer. So let's do that.
Sure.
And, Renee has a great question that we'll start with her. She said, I've never liked escape rooms. And probably why, Renee? Because they were more gamey. They were not really reflecting practice. But she said, I like the idea of the educational escape room with objectives and SLOs. Could this be a formative assessment to seek at-risk students? Martha, what are your thoughts? Could this be, because there's a lot of open-ended responses that they need to submit before they, after they, you can get inside their students' thinking pretty well during. I would say yes to that question. What do you say?
I would say yes as well, because you cannot, even though the rationale is provided to them afterwards, they can't really get around those open-ended pieces or providing that rationale that the instructor can really see if they are struggling or where they are struggling.
Yeah. No, excellent. And basically, I just got some love, Martha. They love the preeclampsia escape room thing that you're coming up with.
Well,
and
that one was work. I'm not an OB nurse, so that
yeah.
I leaned on this community a little bit.
No worries. And, if there's any other questions that educators have, pop them in the chat. But I'd love to know, what we haven't talked about, Martha, is basically how this can be used. Let's talk about what you envision. I think there's some obvious applications, but what do you see, Martha, as the best uses of this resource in nursing education for faculty?
I think it can be used in a few different avenues. One being classroom. I think it can be used as pre-work before class to either introduce a new topic or to reinforce what was learned the previous week. It could be used in a large group in a classroom if the instructor kind of puts it up on the screen like a PowerPoint, and instead of lecturing, you can work through an activity like this. Small groups would also be a great way to use this. We talked about escape rooms being helpful for collaborating and teamwork, communication, and that can all be done in a small group if just one person has access to a computer. And I think the other side is for clinical. Some of my peers that tested it for me used it in post-conference. They talked about either the lack of mental or emotional strength at the end of a clinical day to carry on the learning, or the lack of space. Some of the hospitals don't have private spaces to carry out a post-conference. So they were using this as an activity once clinical was dismissed to go home and still continue the learning afterwards.
Excellent. Thanks, Martha. This educator asked this question: if I could buy only one, what would you recommend? And the question is about what you teach. And,
yes.
And I would say, Martha, right now we only have 3. And we only have 3 topics. And the 3 are a DKA with a juvenile that incorporates, it's I think a 9-year-old patient, DKA, juvenile type 1 diabetes, new onset, pneumonia that you just saw, and heart failure. Now, we just kind of did this, Martha, 3 topics because we didn't know. We don't want to spend 100 hours or hundreds of hours and then kind of like, well, we sold 5. It's like, okay.
Nobody was interested.
Kind of like Shark Tank with this resource. It's doing 3 topics. But if the market responds, if educators find value, we get good feedback, we continue to improve it and strengthen it, we're going to add more topics. And one of those will be OB topics. OB hemorrhage is my next OB topic, I think, that we'd love to do. I think I saw an educator had a comment about OB and I caught their ear. I think she was talking about the escape room decks. But the bottom line is, Martha, we're just doing 3. Just to get started and see how educators find it. We just want to know how you find it before we go crazy and create 3 more or 10 more. We don't know that. We'd like to keep doing this if you find value. So we need your feedback. And even in the email sequence, if you purchase this, you will get an email that's going to ask for your feedback so we can strengthen. We always want to never stop improving. And so we've got some other questions here, Martha, we need to walk through here. And basically, let's go. Let's just see. Shelby asked this question, I'll answer this one. How is this integrated with the KeithRN and Think Like a Nurse? Is it a separate cost? And I will say, yes, it is, because I didn't create this by myself. All my other resources in the membership platform, all the 100+ topics, the other handouts were just my intellectual property. Now I'm collaborating for the first time, which I'm really excited to do. And I've got to honor Martha, and she gets, she has worked hard. And so therefore we are kind of like doing this together. So therefore it doesn't come under the all-inclusive platform, but you get a 20% discount in addition to the early bird discount we're going to share here in just a moment. So in essence, it is a separate cost, but members get a unique 20% discount. So that's that's how the best that we can do, and I'm glad to do that. Let's see what else we have here, Martha. That would just be a specific question, not a comment. I'm just looking at these. Maybe you could just kind of like answer this question, Martha. That's in the, let me see if it'll show up here. There we go. Could you just, it says, can we see the faculty side? What a student submission looks like? What time commitment is there to review the student performance? Great question, Martha. Could you answer that?
Yes. So the responses that a student submits will come through in an email. I think I did see that question in there as well. They're reviewed by the instructor in an email. So every student that completes it, or every group of students, will have their own submission email that comes through. It's just a running document of the questions, and the PDF documents are just links that you can click. It opens up the window that shows that student's completed submission. And it's not long, and it's not overly wordy. It's very concise, that you can get through it pretty quickly once you're familiar with the escape room, that it will not take very long to review the responses.
Would you say, Martha, like maybe 10 minutes? Would that be a
I would
fair?
say even less, but
Even less. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
Once you know the format and the responses that you're looking for, it goes, I mean, it's pretty quick.
Awesome. Yeah, and she has, we have an educator. How could you use this in pharmacology? You know, I mean, there is the pharmacology component, and I would just say probably, Martha, just pulling out what is relevant to pharmacology or most important. You can, because you can skip. You always got to contextualize the content. So have the opening scenario, but then you could just kind of, skip through it to that section, either in class as an educator. Can students do a partial submission? That's a really good question.
They can, if their instructor allows that. I mean, if it's going to be instructor led or instructor decided. Every escape room has pharmacology components in it. Some are heavier than others. The CHF one is a little heavier in the pharmacology, but they all include pharmacology. But like you said, contextualizing it is important, and just having a scenario to apply the pharmacology content to is important.
Excellent. And I think we answered the question from Kathy. We have some confusion. People are saying, how do we find the preeclampsia topic? That is your escape room deck. That's the confusion between having two of us here. And you've got the escape room deck on Breakout RN.
Yes.
But if we do additional topics, I think that definitely an OB preeclampsia and an OB hemorrhage would be my first two topics to do with OB. If we do them, again, we'll just kind of, but I'd love to, Martha. I think
I would lean on the OB instructors to tell us what they need, because
absolutely.
I don't know OB.
Absolutely. We have the content experts to help create.
Yes.
So, anyways, yes. And Renee Dyson, well, she said, feel free to lean on me for help. And so
yes.
we'll reach out to Renee. Just give me your email at keith@keithrn.com. And Destiny has this question that's really important. Does the discount apply to the 3-bundle deal? And yes, we have a bundled package, and I'm going to share the link. Let me just share the link right now. It's like, why delay this? Let me share the link to the to two things here. The first thing is the first link is the link to the product page on KeithRN. This is where the product is found. It is a KeithRN clinical reasoning escape room with collaboration with Martha. That is clearly evident, and that's why we're doing it together tonight. And you can get the 3-bundle discount is about 20% off. And then you basically, if you're a member, there's an additional coupon that we will send you. And so the bottom line is that information is there. And let me see what other questions we have here that we need to answer here. Here's an interesting question about just using something like this to test students' ability to safely administer meds. I feel drug and solution test does not actually make a student safe. The thing is, Martha, as we look at this, the sky's the limit. We could do an escape room that would just focus on a scenario, multiple
medication administration,
and all dosage calc, just like you did it, and have like maybe 10 dosage calc questions or 5 to 7, so we can, kind of like.
I think another piece too is like when you're like Kieran mentions, that safely administering medications is not giving the patient the cup. It's all the thinking that goes on behind the scenes, that bringing in their vital signs, their medical history, bringing that all together to administer medications. It's not getting them out of the blister packs, and it's not drawing up. That's not the safety piece that we're looking for. Anybody can do that. So that's a really great idea, though. I like.
Yeah. So I mean, Martha, let's just see how it does. And you know what?
Okay.
We've got this unique format and we've collaborated to have a really unique resource. And I think let's just, we'll take it a step at a time. But again, that dosage calc piece, and even Dana asked the questions of using the escape room to show pictures, more pictures, for example, like a tracing of a fetal heart rate. We can do that with monitor tracing, cardiac monitors. But yes, Dana, good to see you
I
tonight.
would love to do that. I love incorporating actual pieces from practice, like the
Yeah.
monitor images that we had, and as realistic as we can make it.
Yes. And I will just kind of like, just for example, I just want to put my as we wind things down here, Martha, I just want to basically, I'll just be the point person for the feedback that we'll share together. But people are saying, for example, like if you ever considered making one on focuses on pathophysiology and disease processes, or for OB, or for the dosage calc, you know what? Email me. Tell me what you need. Because really, when we look at KeithRN and Breakout RN, we put faculty first. We are committed together to provide educators with the best possible resources that I don't think we're getting from those who serve us in the business side. They do great with student resources, but they lack in the quality of faculty tools. And me and Martha are basically your allies. And we're responsive. We'll respond to your needs and what you want. And so please email me. We want to serve your needs and value that opportunity. And so, in closing, I just want to throw in the link one more time in the chat. And I also want to kind of throw out one last kind of closing teaser for you all. As I thought about this, how can we also help educators with one more tool? And what I'm going to do, and if you purchase one of the escape rooms, and again, they're very affordable because they're less than $40 individually. A piece. And Martha, let's just close with this thought. How many hours does it take to develop just a typical escape room on your own? Because you don't get these but from the publishers. We have to create our own escape rooms. And how many hours does it take when you were just doing a single escape room? Was it 3 to 5 hours? Is that a safe assumption?
I would say greater than 5.
Okay.
For a very basic escape room. The one one as robust as this, would take an entire semester.
Yeah.
Even longer.
And and the thing is that's really awesome is that they're priced at like less than $40 individually, $39.95, but it's for the faculty. One educator emailed me, Martha, and she said, we're getting a grant for our students on this project. We'd like to get a student grant. Is it $39.95 per student? And I said, no. It's just kind of like, it's kind of like with us and, what we do with my case studies, it's like you have access to it and then you're able to basically then use it with your students, but it's a 1-year license and that's unique. We need to kind of make it clear. This is an online virtual product. It's not going to last forever like a PDF. It has an annual license use, but you can use it, you as the faculty, not sharing this with others, using it for your students for 1 year for that single price point. That's golden because every educator is worth more than $50 an hour. It's worth $50 an hour. And if we're saving you, how many hours, that's priceless when you look at its true value, as well as the value, Martha, on student learning. That's kind of like the credit card commercial. That's priceless. Yes. And developing clinical judgment to improve practice readiness. And I believe this resource can do that.
I agree.
I think that's priceless, Martha. And so, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. And just one last, comment that I would share is that for those of you that purchase this product, you get the 20% discount right now. And that discount coupon code is ESCAPE20. So when you go to KeithRN at that link, you'll get immediate access to the link. It's so simple to use. I love the process that we've developed with my webmaster, who's very gifted, has created a very unique process. But the bottom line is that in addition to that 20% discount, I am going to provide you in the first email you get from me a coupon code for a free KeithRN clinical reasoning case study for $19.95. So you can basically get a free KeithRN case study, and I've completely redesigned them with images, with audio sounds of the skinny reasoning, and even have the next gen reasoning I talked about last week. Get it for free, $20 value. So you know what? We both want to really get these things into your hand. so you can strengthen and transform the way you teach nursing. So really, it's our pleasure to serve your needs. And Martha, it's been a pleasure to collaborate together. This has been a really fun, and we work well together. We really are just kind of two peas in a pod and just have the same passion and vision and mission. And I just say thank you, because I couldn't have done this. We couldn't have done this without each other. We're like a good couple that we just complement each other with our unique strengths. And we do, Martha, and you have them and I have them. And together, we created something very special. And I think that we both, I'm just really very happy how it turned out.
I am too. I'm incredibly grateful for our collaboration and your mentorship. You've been invaluable to me as I've walked this journey. So thank you.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome. And I would say, Dana, yes, these are in my store right now. We just went live yesterday. And so the coupon for 20% off is only through, I think, Tuesday of next week. It's only through the 15th. So the bottom line is, share this with other faculty. We want to get the word out, and we want to transform nursing education. Let's close the academic practice gap once and for all. And it begins by just changing the way we teach. We don't have to change the curriculum. We don't have to go crazy with a lot of complex things. It's just, we have to have the best tools possible that I don't think we have. And we're both committed to provide you with those resources and do our best, to make a difference, just as you're making a difference in the trenches right where you are. We want to give you the best tools, like reinforcements. You're on the battle, you're on the front lines, and we want to give you the best possible resource, like good reinforcements, because it's a battle. Nursing education is not rainbows and butterflies. And we all know that. You need the best tools to strengthen and improve clinical judgment development, practice readiness. And so anyways, it's been our pleasure. And, thank you so much. We had a great turnout tonight, Martha, and it went a little bit over, but I think people wanted to be here and are still here with us. So I just want to say thank you. And Martha, do you have any closing thoughts or comments? I'll give you the last word.
Thank you for everyone who came tonight. And it's been my pleasure too, to serve you and to listen to you and to get your feedback. So that I can use my gifts and my strengths to return them to you and give you great resources. So, and thank you, Keith, for inviting me tonight.
Hey, and thank you. I mean, Martha, this is an invitation that we've been, it's really a gift, and I'm thankful that together we could do this. And so again, blessings to you all. We will be back next month. Not quite sure what the topic will be, the second Thursday of each month, but we'll have something special. And in the meantime, put these to good use. Stay in touch if you have questions or comments. Again, my email address, always available to anybody who has a question or comment, regardless of what it might be, is just Keith@KeithRN.com. So I want to thank you all again. We could not make any of these needed change. The change that's needed right now in nursing education, we could not do it unless educators such as yourself put these tools to good use. So what we would say is check it out, put them to use, and give us the feedback that we need, because Martha, do we want to develop more topics? Is that kind of,
I would love to. This is fun.
We've got to figure it out now. And now it's like, okay, let's hope that, the market that meets a need and that it works. But we can improve it in the next three topics that I would hope that we can develop in the future, but we'll just take it a step at a time and just see how this unfolds. But yes, that's our plan, and we'll take it a step at a time.
All right.
All right. Well, Godspeed, blessings to you all, and thank you for your time tonight. Take care.